Great. Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders of podcast. Today, I have for number 91, sorry, I have a special guest, and that's a special number for her. We'll go with that during the call later on. My new good friend, Giada, from Toronto, currently living in Ireland. Wow, we just had a quick conversation now. She's a true leader with a heart, truly heart-centered. She's a serial entrepreneur, been building multiple businesses. We're going to talk about all of that. She has holistic massage therapy for women, corporate wellness, as well as a book, self-care solutions at work. And she's just overall just empowering people to take care of their own and being the best version. So we have a lot to cover and unpack for. It's going to be a great one. I'm excited. So Giada, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much. You have such an impressive memory. I think I just said all of those names once and you got all of them. Good job.
Thank you very much. I guess I have some help here, if you know what I mean. But yeah, but again, I try to remember as much as I can. But of course, I mess up. We're going to talk about it in a moment. So before we start, for people who don't know you, tell us, who's Giada?
Who's Giada? That's an interesting question because I feel like you've said a lot of it there. I am a massage therapist originally from Toronto, Canada. I am 3/4 Italian, 1/4 Algonquin Métis. So I'm very proud Canadian, but also European, and which is why I am able to live and work in Galway, Ireland, which is where I am today. I feel like saying massage therapist is just not enough to actually kind of say what I do. But I guess if I could elaborate a bit more, I would say I am a health and wellness enthusiast. So I have actually quite a similar story to yours, if that's okay for me to say. That growing up, I had a loved one. He was my cousin, and he was just a couple of years older than me, and I lost him to leukemia. And watching a family member fade away is very difficult. And when you're that young, you don't really understand what's going on, and you feel very helpless. And so I think from very young, I just wanted to help people. I wanted to not feel helpless. I wanted to be able to make their hurt go away. And so right kind of as soon as I left university, I started with Reiki. And that was the first modality that I found that I was empowered with the ability to help people. And that's where the journey started, really. I've had a few things happen to me in my own lifetime that would give me the understanding of what pain really is. In 2014, I was hit by a bus in Toronto.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I fractured my sternum, a couple ribs. I herniated my L4, L5 disc, and even potentially my L5S1. I rolled my ankle. I damaged my rotator cuff. I had so many injuries. And
Wow.
so luckily for me, I had already been enrolled in school for massage therapy. But at the time, like, I was a bike messenger. I like loved being on my bicycle. That was my goal, was to just have somebody pay me to ride my bicycle. And so when that was taken away from me, by being hit by a bus, obviously, things really fell into perspective of just like how vulnerable, how fragile I really am, how lucky I was to have the physicality that I did, just the ability that I had that was just taken away so quickly. And for the first time in my life, I really understood what chronic pain was. Um, and if you had met me at that time, you would probably think I was a very miserable person. And I feel like now in that experience, where most people would meet somebody who is not their best self and say, oh, what a prick, I now would turn around and say, what kind of pain is that person in? Because, people don't want to walk around miserable. But if you have some kind of chronic pain, whether that's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, etc., that's going to manifest in some kind of misery outwardly. So I feel like I've gone far beyond what your question was, but that's kind of the
No.
background of how like who I am and how I've become who I've become was these essentially these traumatic things that shaped the person I am today. So that's I guess me in a quick nutshell.
That's awesome. So there's so much more that we're gonna unpack later. I took some notes, ask you later. But first of all, as I
Yeah.
told you earlier, I'd like to have a heart-to-heart conversation to get to know you as a person, because we want to see beyond the professional person, to see the actual person. So let's start with that. So first of all, tell us, Giada, what makes you happy?
Oh, what makes me happy? Um, Riding my bike makes me happy. Actually, when I left university, that was the only thing that made me happy. And so that's why I chose to pursue that. What makes me happy? I really love when a client comes in miserable and leaves like they're floating on a cloud. That makes me really happy. Good food, being around horses. Being around horses makes me probably the happiest version of myself that you'll ever meet.
Oh yeah.
What makes me happy? There's a lot of things I could say. You know, I feel like the list could go on. Plants. I
Sure.
really love plants. I have like
Oh yeah.
100 of them in my house.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh, those are
Awesome.
just some things. Yeah. Yeah. What
Beautiful.
makes you happy, Lorenzo?
Oh, a lot of things for me is for me being free. That's the most important for me.
Mm,
Freedom. That's the thing
yeah.
I value the most. Being free, being a nomad,
Yeah.
seeing people around me smile. And as far as if I can be, I mean, just for me myself is just traveling. I just love traveling. Traveling is my drug. I need that.
Hmm.
You know, I've as I said, I'm not a materialist guy. I prefer to experience, be rich in experiences. A lot of people tell me, why don't you just, settle down, so to speak, and get a normal life? Say, no, that's not for me.
They don't get
And
it.
if I look at the money I spent on traveling, I could have bought a house cash, but I do not regret any of it, because for me, it's all about, I see life as a school to learn lessons, and I see life as a buffet. We need to try a little bit of everything to try to learn, so that we can ultimately grow at the soul level. You know what I mean? This
Yeah.
I see this life as basically a school for us to try a little bit of everything. I've tried it all, a little bit of everything, and I'm nowhere near done. I'm not even getting started yet. So, but this podcast is not as about
Okay.
me. You're the star of the show. We can talk about me at a later
Okay.
time, because we can
Well,
talk for hours just about me. I'm passionate, I'm a chatty, but this is about you. You're the star.
that's fair. I love to travel as well. I feel very privileged for the amount that I've been able to travel. And like
Mhm.
you, I probably could have bought a house by now with the amount of places I've traveled.
Oh
But
yeah.
I would never trade it. Never trade it.
Freedom is invaluable. It's like the biggest drug, the biggest high you can get. Freedom.
You know, I worked as soon as I graduated from college of massage therapy, I worked 6 or 7 days a week, 10 hours a day for 4 years to pay
Yeah.
off my student debt and to get myself out of Toronto. And people kept saying to me, like, oh, but you'll be back. And I was just like, no.
For visiting, yes, not to live.
Yeah, exactly. And so I just kind of landed in Portugal and went where the wind took me for
Wow.
like 2 or 3 months. And around that time, I was in Berlin and I met a band from Galway called the Galway
Wow.
Street Club. And
Amazing.
yeah, got on with them like a house on fire, just like they felt like home in a group of people. And they're the reason I'm here. I fell in love with one of them and moved here to be with him, and
Beautiful.
here we are today. Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about life, because you never know what life has in store for you. It's a mystery. That's beautiful. Amazing. We're gonna talk
If you
about that
give
in
it
a
the
moment.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. You have to be open-minded, not be closed-minded. That's a given. Absolutely. Now, tell us, Jada, what makes you smile?
What makes me smile? Is that different from what makes me happy?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, they can be
Okay.
intertwined, but smiling can be different.
What makes me smile is can I say horses again?
Sure, absolutely.
um,
Oh yeah.
sunshine. I feel like if I
Oh yeah.
really think about when I smile like internally is when I'm just like it's above 25 degrees and the sun is shining and the sky is blue. That
Oh
really
yeah.
makes me smile. Mm, things that smell good.
Like
Yeah,
what?
that's a big one. Like what? I don't know. I'm a massage therapist. I work with essential oils.
Oh,
So
okay,
I
okay.
I'm a big fan of good smells. Um, then what makes me smile? My friends make me smile. I since moving to Ireland, I have discovered a sense of humor. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely smiling a lot more since I've moved to Ireland. They do this thing here. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called taking the piss. Have you
Yes,
ever
but I'm
heard
not
of that?
sure. I'm not sure which one you're referring to. So tell us.
Okay, when the first time it happened to me, actually, I got really upset. As a Canadian, I feel like Canadians are very direct. They have a very particular type of sense of humor. And the Irish, what taking the piss is essentially just lying to you, just telling you this spinning a yarn is what they call it.
Oh
And
wow.
they just lie to you and they just watch your reaction for fun. So one of the first times it happened to me, I had mentioned a spider, and the guy I was talking to goes, spider, they have 8 legs, right? And I was like, yeah, like a spider. And he goes, oh, we don't have spiders in Ireland.
Sure, sure.
What? But I'm like so gullible that it was just like, what do you mean you don't have spiders in Ireland? And then he turns to his friend and goes, so and so, have you seen a spider? He goes, what's a spider? As if they were on the same wavelength. He just knew
Yes, yes, I
what
see
was
that.
happening. And
That's
then when they
amazing.
finally have kind of had enough of toying with me, then they just start laughing and they're like, oh, we're just taking the piss. But until I had known what that was,
Ah,
like it was like, how dare you just lie to me like that? So
wow, that's
I don't
amazing.
know how I got there. Yeah,
That's
but the sense of humor,
hilarious.
the Irish sense of humor. Yeah. Oh, you know what really makes me smile and really makes me happy
Hmm.
is really good live music.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And
that
Ireland is a
it
great place for that.
just makes my heart sing.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah.
exactly.
Oh wow.
Uh, it's because of everything that's been happening over the last few years. I haven't been able to get out to a proper gig or festival, but once upon a time, going to a really good metal show would have just made my soul sing,
Hmm.
like set my heart on fire, but that isn't really possible right now. So that's fine.
Yes. Imagine. Now we've been
Uh,
talking for the
yeah.
past few minutes about happiness. Now let's amplify and take the happiness level to the next level. What what makes you come
Mm.
alive?
Oh, I just answered that. Heavy metal.
Ah, okay, okay. That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah.
Cool.
What makes me come alive aside from that?
Hmm.
I feel like that's the answer. That is my answer. If I could be anything, if I had no fear and if I had the abilities to
Hmm.
sing, I would be a musician because there are certain types of music that actually set my soul on fire, and there's nothing else that does that.
What are you fearful about?
Um, I'm afraid it's too late.
You know the song, the saying, it's never too late.
They say that, but like music is a very long journey. You never stop learning music. And I'm friends with a lot of musicians, especially here in Galway. Most of my friend community here are musicians, and most of them started when they were very young. Like a lot of them were playing piano before they could do anything else basically,
Yeah.
or you know. So I feel like if I'm starting now, it won't be till I'm like at least 40 that I can get in front of a group of people. Though I will say, I love karaoke. And that's because you don't need to be good at it. You can just sing your heart out, and it's totally acceptable to not be good.
Yeah, as long as it makes you be happy, feel alive and have a smile, that's what matters.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You can't help but smile when you're singing karaoke,
Oh, yeah, you cannot be pissed off and sad. Mind you,
Yeah.
some songs you could, but generally not. I know.
Generally not. Yeah.
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 Now tell us now, what scares you
What scares me?
other than
Uh,
spiders with 8 legs?
oh, I'm actually not afraid of spiders at all.
Okay.
Um, what am I afraid of?
The dark.
Not having freedom
Oh yeah,
is terrifying.
sure.
A lot of what's happening right now is terrifying. But let's not get into that. What scares
Uh-huh.
me? What scares me is mm, it's like there's a part of me that won't let me go there, you know?
Mm,
Um, like there's so many things that I hold dear to me that I'm afraid to lose, but I don't want to name them because I don't even want to jinx it, you know?
yes, I see. I feel the same. Yes, absolutely. All right, now, what makes you sad and angry?
Wow, okay, fine. What makes me sad is people who don't take the time to listen or understand or have compassion. People who are just kind of like pig-headed, like, nope, this is the way it is, and that's it.
Yep.
That can make me very sad, but I can also be that way. So, can't have it both ways. What makes me angry? People who walk too close to me
Oh,
behind me. You
really?
know, when you're walking down the street and somebody's like right, like you can basically like feel them breathing on the back of your neck. They're so close to you. That just feels like, why do you have to do that?
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
you know what else makes me really angry? People who drive really nice cars that don't give you any space when you're riding a bicycle. They
Oh, yeah.
accelerate past you and they get this close to you as if your life doesn't mean anything. Yeah, that really upsets me. That's a
Yes.
message to put out there. It doesn't matter what car you drive in. If you're driving past a cyclist, don't drive within an inch of their life and don't accelerate past them. Give them the space, you know?
Yes.
They don't have the privilege that you have of being able to afford a car. So they have to get places on their bicycle sometimes. Don't make it their fault. Like
Yeah. Cyclist matters. Absolutely.
cyclist lives do matter. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, what would you say is your personal superpower?
Hmm. My personal superpower. Oh, I wish I had these questions beforehand so I could have prepared.
Would have been
Uh,
not as fun.
well, it's really making me squirm. Um, I mean, like I can come up with pretty much like at least 5 solutions, like to any one person's problems, but that's not really a superpower, is it?
Sometimes we take for granted something that is a skill of us, but for someone else that can be a superpower,
Yeah.
you know? So what is one thing
Hmm.
that you're really known for that, hey, she's the girl for that, she's the specialist, she's the when something comes up, your name comes to mind.
If you have shoulder pain, I can make your shoulder pain go away, even if you've had it
Wow.
for like 15 years. Yeah. Yeah. I know the secret spot that makes pretty much all shoulder pain go away. Um, there's that. Stress relief. I mean, like, if somebody's stressed, then it's just like, go see Giada. She'll take care of you. But I feel like that's just tied to my business and not me, you know?
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. It's hard. It's a hard
All right,
question.
no worries. That's fine. That's good enough. So
It'll come to me later.
absolutely, always open if you get any insight from above or whatever, just feel free to let us know. All right, now let's move forward. Now, let me take you now because you love traveling. Let me take you now on a trip down the memory line. You know, when we're kids, especially growing up, everybody
Yeah.
asks us around, parents, family, teachers. So, Giada, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was the answer back then?
Probably a frog.
Now the horse.
No.
So what's the story behind the frog?
Um,
You have to tell us that.
I really liked frogs. Um, I think at some point I had said a hairdresser, and that's because I really loved my aunt who was a hairdresser, and I just wanted to be like her.
Mm,
Um, so didn't matter what she did, really. I just wanted to be like her. So it had nothing to do with um, it was just, yeah, idolizing her. Then definitely stuff around horses, you know. When I was, if you had asked me that when I just dropped out of university, I would have said I want to run away to the circus. Like, what do you want to be when
wow.
you grow up? I want to be in the circus and traveling and performing and being a circus freak. Sorry, I feel like that's a derogatory term, just a circus person.
That's awesome.
Uh,
It's all about being
yeah.
happy and sharing this happiness with people. I love that. Yeah. Wow. Cool. So when you were in school, what would you say was your favorite subject?
Art or trigonometry. I love
Really?
trigonometry.
Wow. I was
I
not
like genuinely loved trigonometry. And then that led to my love for pool,
okay. Oh,
you know,
like billiard?
like billiards. Yeah.
Oh, so let me picture this. When you're playing pool, you just in your head, you're just calculating the sinus, cosinus, and all that. And tick, 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 tick.
I'm just seeing triangles. Like I'm just seeing triangles everywhere.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's really
And what would you
neat. Uh, mm,
what would you say was the subject that you could not stand?
um, I feel like I've suppressed it. I really loved English. Like I loved writing. I did a creative writing class. Love that. Art. Loved that. Oh, I did not like drama. That's what I did not like.
Oh,
Like
mhm.
avoided it like the plague. Yeah, I was too shy for it.
I see. Okay. So that's probably one of the reasons why you're not so keen on starting a podcast. Could it be one of the reasons?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now let's move forward from the time you left school to now. How would you describe your path? Would you say your path was once you get into one lane was pretty straight forward, smooth sailing? Was it like turns and twists and turns and twists like a roller coaster?
I have an answer for that one. The answer is my path is I what I do is called coddywampling. Do you know what that is?
No, but you're gonna enlighten us. Tell us.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, it's my new favorite word. Somebody told me this term just a few months ago. She said, "Oh, you cottywomple," and I always knew that I did that, but I didn't know that there was actually a name for it. So to cottywomple is to go in the direct in a direction with like gusto and motivation and like inspiration, but not know where you're going. So you're just like, I know I'm going somewhere, but I don't know where.
Is that an Irish expression?
I don't know. The woman who told me is Irish, that it was
I
called coddywampling. You could probably look it up.
I actually
But
wrote
it's
down. I just took a note of what you were saying, Wample, and going in any direction with motivation, inspiration, but not knowing where to go.
yeah,
So I just love that. Learning new things every
yeah,
day.
it's like what I said to you about going to Europe. Like I literally just landed in a place and went where the wind took me. So it was like, I know I'm here to do something. I know something great is going to happen, but I'm just going to stumble upon it. I'm not going to set any major goals or intentions behind it. It's just, I'm going to go where fate takes me. And I've lived that way for the last 10 years. And I have to say, like, I have no regrets. No regrets.
Actually, I agree. I've been the same to use this awesome expression. I've been wobbling as well because it's beautiful. You just go wherever the wind and adventure takes you. That's much more interesting
Exactly.
than just having a boring path already, designed for you. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
That's yeah, the opposite. If I had to choose one or the other, I will always choose to Wample because
Oh
the
yeah,
alternative is just boring and predictable, right?
sure. Totally. Absolutely. Totally. Now, I'm sure you heard the saying that says, change your story, change your life. And by story, I mean what we keep on telling ourselves on a daily basis. So when you had to change your story to change your life or bring your life to where you wanted to, how did you do it? Did you do it through help of friends, families, mentors, books? So tell us how you, Giada, you did it to change your story, to change your life.
Probably a lot of mentors, which like I guess now you would call coaches. I have a weird thing with the word coach. It makes me cringe because I feel like there's a lot of people calling themselves coaches that are not
Oh,
actually
yes.
coaches.
Yes.
But definitely mentors. Um, definitely mentors. Yeah.
Speaking of mentors, and just I couldn't agree more with you that says nowadays everybody and the dog is a coach. So when it
Yeah.
comes to finding a real code that is legit, do you have any tips for someone that is maybe stuck or starting out? How would they go about finding a legit coach that can relate with them and help them? How did you find your first real mentor that was really, so basically my question is, do you have any tips for someone to finding a legit mentor?
See, like I feel like I've always stumbled across mine, you
Mm,
know, like they always kind of it's like they approached me almost instead of the other way around. For instance, the first person who ever kind of mentored me, I was at a festival called A Midsummer's Night Dream. It was just like a kind of hippie thing in the park. And I had just dropped out of university, and this woman said to me, she was reading tarot cards, and I went to her, and she said to me, "You're going to be my student." And I said to her, probably not likely because I'm moving to Boston in a week. I was running away to Boston at the time. And then, sure enough, I lasted 9 days in Boston because I could not cut it with the Bostonians. And
awesome.
I ran home scared and ended up becoming her student. And she teaches Reiki. And so that's where my Reiki journey started. So many of my other mentors, it was either that I just encountered them by fate or somebody connected me to them saying like, oh, I really think you need to talk to this person. But for the most part, they just kind of happenstance showed up in my life. And I hadn't, it's not like I was even setting the intention for them to be there, it's for them to show up. They just kind of came at the right time. So
That's it.
that's not helpful advice probably. But if you're maybe actively searching for a coach or a mentor, show up to the phone calls on Tuesdays of Your Holistic Academy. And there's a whole group of people who you will be able to meet, and just choose one that you think would be helpful to you and be like, hey, would you have a chat with me and see if there's some resonance there?
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, especially when it said that the right people will automatically, almost like magic, show up in your life like magic. And I've seen that unfold from my own eyes, like time after time. It's absolutely beautiful. Sometimes there are things that you don't even need to understand how it works. Just like when you flip on the switch, you don't know how the all the wires and all, or you turn on your car or whatever. You don't need to know. All you need to know that it works. And just trust the process. So
Yeah.
it's the
Can
same
I tell
thing
you a
here.
story of another one that happened to me?
Okay.
Somebody was telling me that they were taking Latin dancing classes. And
Wow.
this is when I was living in Toronto. So obviously we know Toronto's crazy expensive. I was barely affording the roof over my head and to keep myself fed, never mind taking Latin dancing classes. And I said, well, I would love to take Latin dancing classes, but I just can't afford it. Fast forward, not even a week, not even probably 3 days. I had a client come in full of aches and pains. And I go, what do you do for a living? And he goes, I'm a dance teacher.
Wow.
And so I asked him about it. He teaches Latin dancing.
Amazing.
And I whatever finished the treatment, and he goes, "Oh, if I could afford it, I would be here every week." And I said to him, "Well, if I could
Wow.
afford it, I would get Latin dancing classes."
Bingo.
And so the trade was born. Yeah. So
Amazing. See, beautiful things happen just by magic. Love that.
just set intention.
Yeah. Now, looking back at your life now, how would you how would you rate your happiness on a scale of 1 to 10?
I mean, there's always room for improvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's give it
Absolutely.
like an 8.78.
Okay. So now that we know that, what would a 10 out of 10 look like for you on an happiness level?
What would it look like? It would look like
Full of
stability on all fronts.
full of horses, frogs,
Full of horses, yeah, yeah. Land, horses, plants, a greenhouse, mm,
no
baby goats,
no
motorcycles.
frogs.
Uh,
Frogs.
no, I'm kind of past the frog phase.
Now you've upgraded to the 8 feet, 8 legs spiders.
Spiders, yeah, sure. No, I would definitely have a couple of motorcycles and
Oh
some
yeah.
horses, and I would have a recording studio for my partner that he could play separately from the house, and I could do my treatments and he could play his music, and there would be no qualms about noise or timing and stuff like that. um I'd have to be near a body of water because I love the water. I was a competitive swimmer for 8 years, so
Oh wow.
I'm like a fish in water. Um, what else?
Where in the world would
Sunshine,
that be?
good
Where in the
weather.
world? Where in the world would that be? Your ideal place?
Probably somewhere in Central or South America.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. I think the people of Central and South America, I'm not going to say one specific country, just the people of Central and South America are such beautiful people, inside and out. Like they're just the loveliest, most heartfelt, gorgeous people on the planet. No offense to the rest of the people on the planet, but some of them are just really incredible. And I think I would get on very, very well there.
Very full of life, full of passion, and oh yeah, exactly.
And a lot of Latin dancing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If you love Latin dancing, I would highly recommend also Brazilian dancing. I lived in Brazil for a few years, and Brazil dancing like samba, not just samba,
Yeah.
ashe or whatever. There's so many different styles. Absolutely amazing as well.
I would learn it all. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I really
oh yeah,
would.
amazing. Now let's talk
Mhm.
about your business. Tell us what you do.
Okay. So I'm a massage therapist. And when the first massage therapy clinic I ever started was in Toronto, and it was called the Massage Garage, and I was the body mechanic. And
Wow.
my goal was to help the people in my bike messenger community because a lot of them were falling apart at the seams, and unless they had to go to the emergency room, they were not doing anything about it. So I was hoping to be like a middle ground. So I charged them half the price of what a regular massage would cost just to help them with their aches and pains and problems. So that's where I started. And then it kind of evolved from there. I worked for a few different clinics. I kind of was started to work with a lot of motor vehicle accident survivors, professional athletes, a lot of office workers. And so when I moved to Ireland, I thought for sure massage therapy was a thing everywhere. Like in Canada, in Toronto especially, massage therapy is very sought after. It's very normalized. Whereas in Ireland, it's not quite that same degree at all. And actually, the Irish can be very conservative when it comes to bodies and touch and stuff like that. So I felt like I had to almost introduce what like the level of treatment that I was doing back home. I had to introduce that to the culture here, and I feel like that's me inflating my ego a bit, as if there isn't that here already, but I couldn't find it. Whereas in Toronto, there's like there's multiple disciplinary clinics all over the place, that you can find a place that there's a chiropractor, an osteopath, an acupuncturist. Here, it's not quite the same. So within the first 6 months of living in Ireland, I started my private practice for women called She Needs. And that was mainly because I was kind of tired of working with men. I just really wanted to hone in on working with people who made me feel comfortable, and women don't make me feel uncomfortable. And I really, really love working with pregnant women. When I was in school, we had a clinic for pregnancy massage, and there's just such a beautiful energy in working with a woman who's pregnant. And I would do a lot of energy work. And so that's where I was really called and driven to work. But also I didn't want to just make it completely inaccessible to men. So I figured if I did on-site chair massage in offices, then I could still be addressing the general population, and it wouldn't be in the same setting, but I'd still be able to help people with their aches, pains, stresses, strains. I'd still be able to fix people's bad shoulders, address their neck tension, reduce their stress. So I started She Needs and then Office Needs. And that was the businesses. And then as soon as it started to take off, that I was getting corporate contracts, I was working with the national healthcare system. I was being called in, and like, one of the things that I love to do is take care of people who take care of other people. Like, that's when I really feel like I'm making a difference in the world, is taking care of the unsung heroes. And you know, in the healthcare system here, who I was working with were a lot of the administrative staff, the people who push the paperwork, and you know, they're not on the front lines, they're not the nurses and doctors, nobody's giving them the praise, and their paycheck is probably minimum wage kind of thing, you know. So I was working with them. I was working with a good few different corporate places in Galway, and that's when, of course, that's when the lockdown hit, and suddenly I couldn't do at my job at all. I couldn't get within 2 meters of people. So how do you address people's aches and pains as a massage therapist if you can't get within 2 meters of them? So what I did was I took all the information that I would teach people and put it into the book, Self-Care Solutions at Work, as an effort to empower people with the information about themselves, teach people about themselves, things that we should have all been taught when we were very young. Like, you have a body. This is what happens when you do certain postures or you do certain strains. Mind you, as a kid, would you really care? Probably not, because you don't likely have very much pain. But if we had just been taught about our bodies in this way, then a lot of people wouldn't have these chronic aches and pains that lead to more chronic aches and pains down the line, lead to structural damage, lead to inflammation, and all kinds of things. So I wrote the book, and was hoping that would take the world by storm and people would be like, oh, what a revelation. But it's been a slow burn. And yeah, so
What's the
now
title of
I'm
it?
trying to
What's the title of your book?
Sure. Self-Care Solutions at Work. Yeah,
Is it
and my
available
friend Dimitri,
is it available on Amazon?
on Amazon. Yeah, it's a very friendly, approachable resource. As you can see, there's like the images, they're very, very imperfect, but very curious, you know, like it makes you want to see more. Personally, that's what I think. And what about it? So what I wanted to do then after writing the book was teach the content of the book to people. So like, let's say somebody in HR of a company was like, we need to do something for health and wellness. What do we do if it has to be online? and I can't have a massage therapist come in. Okay, well, maybe we'll get a bunch of people together and Giada will teach them how to resolve their own carpal tunnel and their neck tension, and explain to people how their neck tension and shoulder tension is actually because the muscles at the front of their neck are too tight, and here's how to stretch them. So that was the goal, and that's still kind of the goal in a lot of ways. But I don't know how, as a massage therapist, I don't know how to wear the hat of sales and marketing. So I haven't been able to really push that message out there.
I see.
Yeah, sorry, that's a very long answer to your question.
No, it's a good one. I really like that. That's good. So so you're helping a lot of people, but do you have a client avatar?
Yeah, I've had a few business coaches and I have made client avatars, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. They are, the people who are appointed to the health and wellness of everyone, making sure that everybody has the resources they need to feel better at work. And they are on the up and up of what is massage therapy, what is Reiki, what is guided meditation, et cetera, et cetera. And then they know how to find me somehow.
Yes, absolutely. Now you've been helping, I'm sure, a lot of people with their chronic pains and all that. So share with us an example of the most inspirational case of transformation you've had from someone that you've helped so far.
Oh, I wish I could tell you that story, but it is wildly inappropriate for this podcast. I will tell you that story. I will tell you that story offline. But
Okay.
yeah. Okay. Here is okay. I'll tell you one story of something that pained someone, not physically, but kind of mentally, emotionally, energetically, actually a little bit physically as well, and has nothing to do with massage therapy and everything to do with Reiki. It was the first time I ever healed someone. I don't like to say I've healed someone, but okay. So this woman was not able to burp her entire life.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that made it very difficult for her anytime she would eat in excess, and she would have the indigestion and the heartburn, and she wouldn't be able to release the gas. Are you regretting asking me this question yet?
No, keep going, keep going.
Yeah. And so one day we were at her dinner table with her family, and her mom had struggled with her a lot when she was a baby because, if a baby can't burp, then it's very fussy. So she was a very colicky baby. She was always kind of known as a difficult child. But it was probably a lot to do with this digestive issue. And so we're sitting at our dinner table and she goes to me, Giada, I have to go pull the trigger, which I don't know if you know what it means to go pull the trigger.
Not really.
It means to make yourself throw up.
Oh,
so
wow.
anytime she would have this buildup of gas in her stomach, she would have to go to the bathroom and try to make herself throw up, but just a little bit so that she could release the gas. I know this sounds terrible, but imagine having to live like that every time you eat.
Wow.
Right?
Oh, yes.
So I said to her, okay, just wait. Okay. Give me 3 minutes. Give me 3 minutes. Let's see what we can do. So I put my hand on her and I start channeling the Reiki, the energy healing, and I start doing these little burps. And all of a sudden she let out this massive burp, huge burp. And her entire family stopped and looked at us. And her mother goes, oh, that did not just happen.
Wow.
So now she can't burp on demand, but anytime she needs to, she can. So
wow,
that is one example. There's another example maybe I could give you that is way less kind of dramatic. That there is there's at least 2 people I can think of off the top of my head that have had this same problem, that they had such a chronic shoulder pain that they were considering leaving their jobs because one was a web designer and one was a makeup artist. Both of them were seriously considering leaving their jobs because they just could not deal with the pain in their shoulder anymore. And after one session with me doing my shoulder technique, their pain has disappeared and never come back.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, I'll leave you with those. Oh wait,
These
no,
are
no,
amazing.
one more.
All
One
right, there's
more.
always more. Wait, there's more. Come on, bring it on.
I know someone who was not able to breathe through his nose since he was 12 and he's 28. Okay.
Wow.
He had really bad asthma, so really difficulty breathing across the board, but could not breathe through his sinuses since he was 12 years old. And I did some
So wait a second.
acupressure.
Wait a second. If you can't breathe with your nose, how else are you able to breathe? With your mouth, I guess?
Yeah, he was just breathing through his mouth all the time.
Yeah, that's not very convenient and comfortable. I mean, we take it for granted, but I'm just trying not to breathe with my nose, and it's quite hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine just like not being able to smell anything. Like,
And forget about being able to do any sports, I guess, because
he was not an athletic person. No, he is he's
wow.
a musician. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I did my sinus clearing techniques on him, and now he can breathe through his nose.
Wow,
All the
amazing.
time.
You've
Yeah.
got the magic touch. That's awesome.
Sometimes, not all the time. I don't want you to think that every single client that I have that I'm able to miraculously heal them, but it does happen. Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. And when someone goes through, I mean, when you have someone, usually within how soon or how long do they start seeing some real life-changing results?
Like immediately or 10 minutes or
Really?
by the
That
end of the
fast?
day. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it can be immediate. It could be by the end of the day. It's usually within the 36-hour to 48-hour window of time from when I do the treatment to when I'm checking in with them. But the ones who have had like the most miraculous results was pretty much instantaneous.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about massage therapy or anything, but listening to these stories, I'm saying, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think massage therapy is magic in a lot of ways. I think, I mean, okay, you know what acupressure is, you know what acupuncture is.
Yep.
Like the body is covered in meridians and points that
Mhm.
have, like, by just pressing into them will release things, balance things, realign things. And if you know what you're doing, great. Even if you don't know what you're doing, there is a chance that you could really help somebody by just pressing the right button. A lot of it is intention. But like, we have so many different types of tissues in our body, and we have all these cells working to keep us alive and keep us healthy, and massage therapy is just such a great way to encourage the body's ability to do that. Like, do you know what your Golgi tendon organ is?
My which, sorry?
Your
Tendon?
Golgi tendon organ.
No, not that one.
No, okay. So it's a GTO for short. Let's just call it GTO. Okay. Every muscle in your body has a GTO, and it's located at the musculotendinous junction. That's where the muscle tissue becomes the tendon tissue. Okay.
Okay.
And your GTO monitors the tension of your muscles. So if your muscle is too tight, your GTO registers this, sends a message, a nerve impulse to the brain saying, hey, brain, this muscle's way too tight. If it continues this way, we're going to have some major problems. You need to relax this muscle. And the brain says, yeah, I see that. Okay, sending an impulse now. Hey, muscle, you need to relax. And the muscle then will relax. Okay. And you have this ability in every muscle of your body.
Wow.
And that is essentially what massage therapy employs, is it is using that function to its benefit by putting extra strain on the muscle by pressing into it or bowing it or whatever. And there's nerve impulses being sent to the brain, and the brain is relaxing those parts of the body. So it's like this dance of using the body's natural abilities to heal itself and just kind of pushing it further on that down that line, or just waking it up to certain aches and pains that you might be holding, but not realizing you have them until somebody pushes into them. I tell my clients all the time that if our body actually let us feel all the pain that we're holding, we'd all just be crying in a corner somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Like we hold so much tension, we hold so much pain. But if we were allowed to feel it, we wouldn't be here talking to each other.
Wow, that's for sure. Wow. That's what I love about this podcast, learning new things about things I had absolutely no idea about. I love that. Thank you. Thank you, Professor. All right. Awesome. Now, what would you say, in business, one of the most important things is having an offer, especially an irresistible offer. What would you say is your irresistible offer?
I mean, I can tell you what my prices are, but I don't that doesn't really tell you much, what I offer in She Needs is holistic massage infused with Reiki, shiatsu, aromatherapy, and reflexology, all bundled into one. That's kind of what I offer, I guess. Also, I have a very beautiful home. My the whole front of my house is covered in ivy, and I have this lovely treatment space. And so it's just kind of this walk into my fairy home and I will help you unwind and relax.
That's amazing. Wow. Okay.
Mm.
How are you getting your clients?
I feel like if I give this away, then everybody's going to do it.
Okay, then hold on. Okay.
Okay, I'll tell you. Okay. I feel like everybody's overlooking this medium as if it's a dead medium, but it's totally not. It just depends on what kind of clients you're looking for. But I just put ads in the newspaper.
You know what? I couldn't agree more with you. The first business I built about 10 years ago, everyone else was going online and I was the only one running ads. I started with a small classified ad, and then it was doing so good that I started running full page ads.
Wow.
Absolutely agree with you. Absolutely. If you can find the right newspaper or magazine that targets your exact audience, that's a gold mine, because a lot of people, believe it or not, just like you said, still read the newspaper and prefer to read a physical book as opposed to a Kindle and whatnot. Yes,
Yeah.
the world is going toward more digital, but there's still quite a big amount of people that are still so to speak, old school, and there's no competition.
Exactly. The concept of the red ocean versus the blue ocean?
Totally. Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like online is the red ocean, and newspaper, maybe until people see this, the newspaper is the blue ocean.
Would you say that because you're an island being, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but the perception I have of island and Irish people, they're more traditional and conservative as opposed to, say, in North America, and they're more old school?
Yeah.
Sure, newspapers and magazine may work in North America, but I think they would work much better in a place like Ireland. What are your thoughts on that?
See, I can't really speak to the kind of newest generations of the Irish people, like the 18 and under, because I really don't interact with them all that much. So I couldn't tell you depending on who your client base is.
What's your age bracket of your ideal clients?
18 to 85.
Okay, so okay.
And what I know about myself is that I don't like to be sold to.
Yes.
Right. And so online, you either are posting a bunch of free content and feel like you're selling your soul, or you're advertising and then you feel like you're selling to people. And I told you, I don't know how to wear the marketing hat. So I don't know how to do that properly. I just feel like I'm shouting into the void when I do online marketing. Whereas in the newspaper, like there's so many people that like are in a job where they just have to sit there and like they like their source of entertainment basically is flipping through the newspaper and seeing what kind of stuff they find in it. And like there's so many people that are like 40, 45 and above that thought to themselves, oh, those computers, those cell phones, that's just a phase and people will grow out of it. And they never caught up with technology and they don't really know how to use it. So they go to the old school mediums because at least that's still there for them.
You know, now that I think about it, there's something very enjoyable. You can just go to a coffee shop, whatever, grab a coffee, whatever, and grab a newspaper and sit there for an hour or two just reading the actual newspaper. That's something that I actually miss, and I would love to do that as soon as possible. And I'm sure a lot of people would love to do that again, and would love to the actual physical connection, because it's all about doing things and not just mindlessly just flipping or whatever. Because
Yeah, it's tactile. And you know
yeah,
what's also another thing about the newspaper is that even if it's not your target audience reading the newspaper, do you know how many times I've had a client come in and say, oh, my aunt or my grandmother or my mother was looking through the newspaper and found your ad and told me about you,
totally. Wow, that is so
right?
true. Yeah, I saw that myself 10 years ago when I went my first online business, even though it was called online business. 100% of my marketing was offline, and I was doing very well because I had no even before the term was coined. I had created my own blue ocean. I had zero competition. You know,
Brilliant, brilliant. Good job. I
thank
applaud
you.
you.
And now it's all about, it's amazing and fun at the same time. You mentioned that, and that's just another example of, let's not complicate things. Let's get back to basics. It's all about going back to the basics, and the basic is a foundation. Let's not to try to overcomplicate, look for the latest, shiniest, trendiest thing, because that's going to be a fad. Yes, but newspaper, people, that's going to be an evergreen. That's never going to change as long as there will be people in this planet.
As they say, keep it simple, stupid. You
Love
know?
that. Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I also applaud you for doing the amazing thing and creating your own, blue ocean, because in this day and age, it's all about, in real estate, they're saying that's location, location, location. But in business, especially nowadays, because it's so competitive, it's all about the 3Ds: differentiation, differentiation, differentiation. It's all about look about how you can differentiate yourself. And one of the first and obvious thing is how to market yourself, where to market where the others are not, do things that others are not willing to do or not able to do, whatever. So wow, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Love that. Love that. What would you say?
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be honest.
Mhm.
I didn't think to myself, oh, I'm gonna put an ad in the newspaper. The newspaper contacted me and said,
Wow,
would you like to put an ad in our paper? And I was just like, sure, let's try it.
that was an
And I got
island.
like, yeah,
I don't think that would happen in Toronto, because it's a different world. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Like Galway is one of the biggest cities in Ireland, but it's still a very small town compared to a
Mhm.
place like Toronto.
Mhm.
So yeah, they reached out to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of living in Toronto versus living in Galway, how would you compare the cost of living between the two, roughly speaking?
Still stupid expensive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you live in a place where everybody wants to live, you're gonna pay out the nose, you know?
Yes.
And like the cost of living keeps going up. Minimum wage doesn't budge. And if it does, it moves up by cents, not dollars. Like,
Yes.
so
Oh yeah. Hmm.
yeah, that is my short answer.
All right. Okay. And in
Yeah.
terms of lifestyle and weather, how would you compare the two?
Mm. Okay, so Ireland is not a place of extremes. They don't have extreme cold and they don't have extreme heat. Uh, we had a beautiful summer this past summer, actually. Like I was out tanning in March.
Oh, wow.
Uh, yeah, yeah. When you guys still had snow on the ground, I was outside in a bikini. Like,
We had snow
but
up until late May this year.
I know, I know.
Wow.
Um, this was probably one of the hottest summers that Ireland had had. And when I moved to Ireland, I got here June 21st of 2018, so the longest day of the year. When they opened the airplane door, it was just past midnight and it looked like the sun had just finished setting. And remember, yeah, I remember thinking
Wow.
to myself, what kind of magical place is this that the sun doesn't set until midnight? And the next day I was on the phone with my mother and it was 11 o'clock at night. And she goes, Giada, where are you? And I said, I'm in Galway. And she goes, but what time is it? It's 11. She goes, why is the sun out? It was,
For you, mom.
yeah. So that's one thing that's very cool about Ireland is that the sun stays out very late, which I was not
Wow.
used to. Yeah. What's different here is we have, the Irish have floating rain. I don't know. I
What's a
don't think,
floating?
have you ever? It's
No.
rain that doesn't fall, it floats. It's like a dense mist.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
and so as you move through it, it's just kind of like attaching itself to you and you end up soaked. But it doesn't, gravity doesn't seem to affect it somehow. It just kind of like floats there in the ether.
Wow. A new thing I need to experience, floating rain in Ireland on my bucket
Yeah.
list. All right. Love
Yeah.
that. Awesome.
Yeah.
And when I do come to Ireland, I'll definitely get in touch with you. All right.
Yeah,
Awesome.
do. Do.
Cool.
What else is different? They drive on the opposite side of the road.
Yes. 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 Speaking of that, when I was living in Hong Kong, it's the same thing. It's in the British system. I
Oh
almost get
yeah.
hit twice because I wasn't used to it. I was looking the wrong direction when crossing the street. My buddy just pulled me by the arm. Otherwise, I would have, you know, twice.
You're so
Not just by a
lucky.
car, in Hong Kong, they have this double deck buses, just like in England, those huge, massive buses. By one of
Yeah.
those, I would have been
Oh,
like some puree or whatever.
yeah, you would have been flattened. Yep. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Not many people get to get hit by a bus and survive. I am one of the few, but not many people do it.
Yeah. Speaking of that, how did it happen?
I was riding my bike on
Oh,
Eglinton
okay.
Street.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you probably are familiar with Eglinton Street. It's a bit too far north of the city to have a lot of cyclists, probably, I would say. Like, it's a lot more buses and traffic, and there's a lot of construction.
What part of Eglinton? Eglinton
Um,
and
it was like uh east of um Bathurst.
okay, so pretty central. Okay,
Is I'm It's been a long time since I've been in Toronto, so I'm trying to.
yeah, yeah. So west, about towards the west, yeah, center west. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And so this bus we were kind of playing leapfrog essentially, because that's probably why I don't like frogs anymore, because I was playing leapfrog with a bus. uh, so I'm cycling and I had a friend that was cycling ahead of me, and so this bus was like driving ahead of us, stopping, letting people off, and then we'd go around the bus, and then this bus would kind of like drive and go ahead of us. And one of the times, my friend had gone ahead and the bus was driving up and started switching lanes into me. So instead of going in front of me, was just switching lanes into me. And so she sideswiped me, and it all happened very quickly. I put my arm up somehow as if that was going to protect me. But because of the speed of the bus as she was passing me, my arm got pulled forward and I slammed the like part of my sternum and rib cage here into the stem of my handlebars, which is where your handlebars meets the stem of the bike.
Yeah.
Slammed it into that. Like, I thought I had ribs poking into my heart. It was so painful.
Wow.
It winded me. I was bleeding from my chest. Um, I went so when that happened, slammed my chest, slammed my foot onto the ground, and felt this kind of like shock go up my left side of my body. And I went down. And if she hadn't stopped, she would have rolled right over my legs and pelvis. But she stopped, and somebody pulled me out from under the bus And as soon as that happened, the bus drove away.
Oh my God.
So instead of staying on the ground, because I was full of adrenaline from just being hit by a bus, um, I was stupid and didn't say, hey, you call a police officer or something, or just like stay there on the ground. I got back on my bicycle and chased after her,
Wow.
bleeding from my chest, not able to breathe, chased after her. She finally stopped. I went to her driver's side window and I pull up to her window. This was in it was June 25th. So it was in the middle of summer. Her window was open and I'm crying. I'm bleeding and I can't breathe. And I said, did you not see me? And
Wow.
she started yelling at me, you cyclists, you think you own the road, just like laying into me basically. And so after about, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds, not even, of her yelling at me, I said, okay, forget it. You're a bitch. Okay. Excuse my language, but that's what I said. And I saw a police car just up the road from me. So I cycled ahead of the bus, showed up to the police officer and said, can you please call me an ambulance? And I was just hit by that bus. I'd like to charge her for hitting me and driving away. And so he pulled the bus over and took everybody off the bus to get statements, but nobody could see me because, as you know, the buses, they're quite tall and I'm not very tall. So I was below the window line. And so nobody saw it happen. And the only witness would have been the person who pulled me out from under the bus, but I didn't say anything to them. I just rode away. But the bus driver, when she was asked for her statement, said that I was extremely rude to her and I was cussing at her.
Come on.
Yeah. When she was the one yelling at me, who was standing there crying, bleeding from my chest, not breathing.
Wow.
And she was yelling at me. I called her the B word once because of how she treated me, and I was extremely rude and was cussing at her. So
She almost killed you and she's trying to find a way to blame it on you. Come on. She doesn't, some people don't have any conscience. I mean, when you hit someone, just stop the damn vehicle, Don't be a coward and try to live, It's not going to
Yep.
go away.
Yep. A few days later, I read an article about that bus company. I won't name them, but that they had over 18,000 accidents in 4 years.
Is that the one that started with a T and double T and then with the third letters of the alphabet?
Yeah.
The one that always says ride the rocket. No way, I'm not going to ride it anymore. Forget that.
The irony was that I had to take the bus to school because if I missed school for 5 days in a row, I would have lost my grant. So I would have had to pay for everything out of pocket immediately as opposed to paying it off slowly. So within 5 days of my accident, I had to be back in school and I had to take the bus to get to school. Yeah.
So did anything happen to that driver? Did you press charges against her?
They have a very good union. She's still driving from what I know. The company paid for the 18 months of physical rehab that I had to do to learn how to walk properly again and, just learn how to not have constant chronic pain. Literally for like 6 months after my accident, it felt like I had somebody dragging a hot dagger through the back of my leg. Like, I don't know if you've ever had sciatic pain, but it is, I would not wish it on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
It was like a hot dagger being dragged through my leg constantly, no matter if I was sitting, standing, lying down, hanging upside down, you name it, whatever position, it was constant. Yeah.
There was no camera because Yonge and Bathurst, that's a pretty central area. There was no cameras on the intersection or anywhere, or?
I don't even know what the intersection was where I was hit because I chased her on my bicycle.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now looking back at that event, because I have had a lot of people on my podcast so far, I've gone through horrific things. And at the time it really hurt, but then a few years later, when looking back at that, they saw that as a blessing in disguise, like a beautiful gift to open their eyes to what really mattered and put them on the right path, the path that they were meant to be. Would you say the same thing to you in regards to that accident? Was that, yes, in the moment it hurt like a bitch, but there was a blessing in disguise that was the start. That's what put you in the path that you are now, because you had to first overcome your own physical chronic pain to understand your body and different muscles, and so then you can go on to basically your purpose in this life and mission is could be to help people with the chronic pains. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely resonate with the archetype of the wounded healer, Chiron, the wounded healer. And in fact, my logo for Office Needs actually is extremely similar to the symbol for Chiron, the wounded healer, without knowing that that was the thing. I truly believe that if it had not been for that accident, I probably would not have pursued massage therapy to the extent that I do and really care about it. Do I wish I could get rid of this pain? Yeah, like
Absolutely,
I wish that I
sure.
didn't have that accident, because I don't want to have to deal with the pain that I have to deal with on a daily basis. Like I have
It's
to
still
wake
affecting
up
you?
with it. Yeah,
Okay, wow.
it's stuff that okay, so every morning I get up around 7, and by 7:15, 7:30, I'm doing yoga. If I don't do yoga in the mornings, by nighttime, I'm having a very hard time walking. And if I go a few days in a row without yoga, then I can barely get out of bed. There was a time when I had first moved to Ireland, I had re-aggravated an injury, like part of my injuries. I had re-herniated my L4, L5 disc. And I couldn't walk for 3 weeks.
Wow.
Like, could not walk. My partner had to lift me in and out of bed, carry me down the stairs, help me in and out of the bathroom, in and out of the shower. I could not support myself on my legs. And that is a very real reality for me if I don't take care of my physicality. So if I don't do my daily stretching, if I don't strengthen the muscles around the joint, like I damaged my left SI joint in the accident, which is where the bottom of your spine meets your hip bone. That's your SI joint, sacroiliac. That's supposed to be a very stable structure. Mine is not, because of the accident. And so having the hypermobility there means that I don't have a structurally sound SI joint to keep me up against gravity. And I have a lot of inflammation there. So when it is very inflamed, it's debilitating pain. I can't walk. So by taking, natural remedies, supplements that reduce inflammation. For instance, I take a lot of turmeric and I use a lot of tiger balm. Those are definitely a part of my daily routine. Yoga and riding my bike actually is one of the things that makes me feel better. I wasn't allowed to ride my bike for a good while after my accident. They told me I wouldn't be allowed to be on my bike for 6 months. At the 3-month mark, I had to get back on my bicycle, because it was either that or I was just done with life. Like, my mental health at that point was much more important than my physical ability, because I just wasn't able to do anything. And they kind of just half expect you to just lay down and die. Like, they just half expect you to lay down on the couch or stay in bed and not do anything and just wait to receive a payout. But because I went back to school, because I was working multiple jobs to keep myself going, I was clearly not in enough pain to get a payout from the company. Clearly, they hadn't done enough damage to me for me to merit
What?
some kind. Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So they also said that because I wasn't wearing a helmet, that it's my fault. Yeah.
Always looking for ways not to pay these. I'm not gonna say anything. That's why I
Yeah.
don't have a positive view of insurance companies.
Yeah.
You know.
not that I want to make it about money, but like,
No, of course, it's a
literally,
principle. Yeah.
yeah, it's the principle that I actually went back to work, went back to school, and they're like, oh, see, clearly you're not in that much pain.
Well, I'm going because I have to have no other choice. Excuse me.
I
Does-
I had
you
no other
know?
choice. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, these people are completely disconnected from reality. It's not like they're born like them with trust fund accounts of millions to rely on. People have to make a living and get by. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Unbelievable. Wow. But now that it's past, okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Wow.
I'm here now. You
Yeah.
know what? Because of that pain, I think I can really understand and empathize with my clients. When a client comes to me in a lot of pain, like I told you at the beginning of this call,
Mhm.
because of my accident, like right after my accident for the first 6 to 8 months, I was a miserable human being. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you would not have defined me as anything else as just miserable. And it was because
Mhm.
I was in screaming amounts of pain constantly. And I refused to take painkillers because I think if you are taking things that are numbing you and you could actually damage, create more damage,
Sure.
if you're not aware of what you're doing, like the injuries that I had, you can very easily make it worse by overextend exerting yourself if you have a false sense of security, false sense of confidence, and the anti-inflammatories, painkillers will give you that false sense of confidence, and then maybe you
Wow.
lift something a bit too heavy or you do a certain movement and you're done. So I feel like I really understand pain. I understand people's emotional pain, mental pain, physical pain, spiritual pain, just from, and I know people go through all types of pain that I might not understand, but I'm that much closer to being able to
Mhm.
be compassionate, be empathetic, and be understanding. So
So
that
how
is the silver lining.
yeah, wow. So how much would you say your path has changed as a result of this accident? I don't mean just because of the pain, but because of the direction of what you're focusing on now. If you did not have this accident, would you be today on the same path that you are now? Would you be in a completely different path?
It's really hard to say. Like
Mhm.
I probably, like I said, I probably wouldn't have gone down the massage therapy road as far as I did, because I was, it was just my first month or two of school when I had been hit by the bus. And so because of that accident, I really got to know the body, and like the functions of the body, and like, okay, how quick do ligaments heal? How soon do fractures heal?
Yeah.
What type of techniques can you use for sciatic pain? And the answer is not many. In fact, if somebody has some kind of nerve pain, you're much better off to not use a therapy that manipulates the tissues because you could actually cause more aggravation. You're better off using something like acupuncture that is not
Mhm.
manipulating the tissue. Um, and I would not have known that had it not been for my own pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Wow.
and it, like the kind of legend or story of Chiron is that he is poisoned and spends the rest of his life looking for a cure to his poison, but he can't be cured from his poison. However, in that pursuit of finding his cure, he finds the cures to many other things. And so when people tell them their pain, tell him their pain, he is able to cure them because
Wow.
he has found the cures to all these other things. So I feel like that's in a way very much the path that I've taken, is just in the pursuit to make myself feel better and address my own aches and pains. I have been able to find the answers to other people's problems.
Would you say that now there's a higher purpose for that? Would you say this is your purpose and your mission in this life?
In a way, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I One thing that kind of binds us all is that we all have bodies, we all have pain. If you don't, then you're very lucky to not have pain. Um, so I think, yeah, it's a very possible path,
Mhm.
is, and like it feels like there's not enough of us out there, so why not be
Totally.
another one, right?
Absolutely. Wow. what a crazy, incredible story.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow. You're a true survivor in the truest form of it. And now
Okay, come on.
you're making the most of it. You know, you're not just lying and being a victim. You're actually using that in a productive way, in a way that actually can help others. That's wonderful.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing. And I mean it. That's awesome. So wow. Now
Yeah.
let's move forward because we still have a few more questions before we finish. And the theme of this podcast is being a cause-driven business. What would you say is a cause that is dear to your heart?
Okay. So there was a little while back where I discovered a combination that was able to eradicate urinary tract infection and kidney infection
Mhm.
um, completely naturally, which is very difficult to do. And I had not realized that this was a cause of mine until I had discovered this remedy. And I had, in discovering this remedy, it was like, what do you want to do? I want to be able to make this remedy available to women across the board because, like, UTIs are very much more of a problem that women deal with than men. Men do deal with it, and I'm not trying to exclude them from that. But, there's a lot of issues out there around women's health that are just not properly addressed, and this is one of them. And so that is one thing that I wanted to kind of make an effort towards. There's a lot of red tape, I'll tell you that right now. So it basically was impossible for me. But what I wanted to springboard from that was to be able to get clean water and resources to the Indigenous peoples of Canada. I just feel like the way I use the analogy to explain it to people here who might not understand what happened to the Indigenous peoples of Canada is that it's like they were living in a house and somebody showed up to their house and said, hey, do you mind if we hang out on your front porch? And they said, yeah, go ahead. And then, they rang the doorbell and said, actually, would you mind? It's raining. Would you mind if we came into your front entrance and we'll just hang out in the front entrance? And they said, oh yeah, of course, come in, it's warm. And then, then they moved into the sitting room and then they came into the kitchen and now they're using the downstairs bathroom. And actually now the original family is living in the cellar and the people hanging out on the porch have taken over the entire house. And it, I don't have the words to describe how I feel about that. But if there was something I could do,
Yeah, I can feel it. That's really sad. Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
And wow, that's a beautiful cause. Wow.
Yeah, and yet
How,
I'm over here in Ireland just living my best life.
how can people listening to this can help and contribute to your cause? What can we do? What can anyone listening to this can do? Even if it's no amount of help is going to be helpful regardless of whatever small it might be. Every little helps. So what can we do, the people watching and listening to this now?
Become aware. I think
Mm-hmm.
awareness is always the first thing. And one thing that I think a lot of people find really beautiful about Canada, and it's not beautiful, is that it is so multicultural.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And it's not a melting pot. Like, it actually honors and respects people's cultural differences and we share culture and stuff like that. And I just wish people would take the time to understand who the original people were of that land and what has happened to them and what it means for all these people to come in and be able to live in that beautiful country. What land they're actually standing on.
Yeah, absolutely.
That
Wow.
that would be the first step, is being aware.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Wow.
Sorry.
No worries. No, I love this conversation because it's really get to see what really is important to you and to people. And yeah, I totally understand that. Totally. It is really painful. I mean, it hurts to hear that, because in this day and age, in 2021 and beyond, we still see, you know, examples of that, not just in Canada, but around the world, you know.
Yeah.
Like the Chinese have a name for that. It's called the salami principle. They go to a place that just like a salami, slice by slice, take a little bit of the land here, a little bit here, and before you know it, you have no land left. They did that to Tibet. They take the entire country of Tibet. They're doing it in
India.
Hong Kong,
Yeah.
India, and now they're trying to do that. We were talking before that little by little in Canada with by completely taking over our real estate market and destroying it. But
Yeah.
this is not
Yeah.
about politics, but we see that everywhere. So
Yeah.
wow, that's crazy.
It's a belligerent abuse of power. And I think it's disgusting. And you know, I think a big reason for me of why I'm not more vocal about this is because I am predominantly European. And so I just look like some white girl, just, you know, trying to
Mhm.
have a cause. And like, I resent that, but also I have to just kind of respect that in a way, you know, and
Yeah,
I don't know. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't in a lot of ways.
absolutely, absolutely. And whatever cause we're passionate about, it doesn't a cause doesn't have color or ethnicity, because we at the end of the day we're human. You know, it's universal. Doesn't matter if I'm a black, if I white or whatever, and if I feel deeply passionate about something that affects another culture, but I'm not part of it. If I truly deeply believe strongly about that, then I'll go for it. You know, I'm not for me at least, it doesn't matter. So because at the end of the day, we're all part of one. We all the source. That's what we're gonna get back at the end. We're all together. You know, when you hurt someone, you're hurting yourself, you know, because we're all connected, even though the person might be at that moment someone that you perceive to be as a bad person, as an enemy. But if you hurt them, you're hurting yourself, because we're all connected at the highest level. So
Mhm. Yeah.
but
I
wow.
am. Yeah. Um, I had a paradigm shift about 10 years ago.
Mhm.
If you don't mind, I'll share it with you.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Just because it's slightly on the topic of what we're saying, but it is something that I like to share because anytime I share the idea, somebody hasn't thought about it that way before. And if I can inspire some kind of shift.
Please.
So it was when I was 21, and I was very much in my hippie days. Okay. So I had like the dreadlocks, and I smoked a lot of pot, and like, it was just like, you know, that phase of my life. I was definitely, you know, peace, love, and light. I even have that tattooed right there. Peace, love, and light. Uh,
Awesome.
yeah. Um, and I was really tortured at, I need a message. I need something that would create a paradigm shift, but is so simple that like people's attention spans won't just fade away when you start to explain it. Like, it's just simple.
Mhm.
And so I was meditating about it, and it's like it like downloaded into me. And I got this message, and this is going to be really controversial to like a lot of kind of more tribal, more uh, what's the word? More kind of like ancient belief systems, because they always call it Mother Earth, right? Mother Earth. But the message that I got was that, what if we looked to the sun as the father and the moon as the mother, because the moon is very feminine. It controls the cycles, the tides. It controls women's menstrual cycles. It has a lot to do with our emotions. And in traditional Chinese medicine, you have the yin and the yang, and it's the sun and the moon. So, like, what if those were like our celestial parents? Okay. And what does that make? That makes the earth the baby.
Mhm.
And if the earth was a baby, then we would want to nurture it and protect it and see it grow. Whereas treating it as our mother, what do we do with our mothers? We take them for granted. We consume them from the inside out. They give and give and give, and we just take and take and take. But if instead we saw the planet as a child, I know it's like it's a simple shift in the mind. But if we instead saw the planet as a baby or a child, then maybe we'd want to nurture it and protect it and see it grow.
Hmm. Love that. Yeah, totally. That is beautifully said. Wow. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing that. No, thank
Well,
you for sharing
it's
that.
kind of on the same lines of what you
Yeah.
were just saying, right?
Yeah, I mean, this podcast is all about inspiring. That was very inspirational. All right, awesome. Now, listen, we can talk for hours. You're a beautiful soul,
Yes.
and we can have beautiful conversation for hours. But let's start wrapping this off. It's all
Yeah, of
we're
course.
approaching way over an hour. We might do a follow up part two in a few weeks or so. But
Okay.
for now, let's wrap it up soon. So let me ask you now for some final questions. What would you say is the best piece of advice you've ever received so far?
Oh my God. Um, best piece of advice, probably when I was, the best piece of advice. See, like when I was 23, somebody scared me shitless and said to me, who you are by 25 is who you'll be for the rest of your life.
Oh wow.
And that really changed things for me. I don't know if that was the best advice, but I know that that was such a simple thing that just changed my life because I was genuinely afraid of the person who I was at that time. I was genuinely afraid of continuing to be that person down the
Mhm.
line. So probably that. But also the advice that I give myself and other people all the time is don't worry about what other people are thinking about you. They're too busy
Mhm.
thinking about themselves.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, they don't really care, you know?
Yeah. I feel like there's definitely better advice I've received out there, but for
No, that's a
now,
powerful one. Yeah, that's a powerful one. All right, now conversely, what would you say was the worst piece of advice you received so far?
um, I want to say just go with the flow because only dead fish flow with the go with the flow. But sometimes you have to go with the flow. So that's not the worst piece
Yeah.
of advice. Um, the worst piece of advice, and it wasn't even really advice, but it was the first cigarette I ever smoked.
Mm.
And the person who gave me the cigarette said to me, okay, I'm going to give this to you, but you have to smoke the whole thing,
The whole cigarette, the whole pack.
the whole cigarette.
Oh wow.
And if I had just smoked that first puff when I felt that punch in my lungs, I would have been like, oh, no. But of course, I had to smoke the whole thing. So I got through the rest of it. And then I smoked for the next 10 years of my life.
Are you still
12
smoking?
years. I quit just recently for the 37th time.
Congratulations. Wow.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah. I go
awesome.
through phases. I'm not like a continuous smoker. I go through phases. But that's my one kind of vice. I don't
Mhm.
drink. Like I have never had an alcohol problem. I don't drink to excess. I can enjoy a drink every now and then, but I do not miss it at all when I don't go without it. But I really enjoy rolling a cigarette and smoking it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can understand that. All right, now let me take you down to another trip now. Imagine that you add a time machine. If you were to be able to sit face to face with the 18-year-old self, what would be the number one piece of advice you would give to her, knowing all everything that you know now?
Aside from buy Bitcoin.
Yes, especially back then. Oh yes,
Yeah.
2013, 14. By now, would be a billionaire.
Yeah. Aside from that, what advice would I give myself? Don't smoke. Um, don't smoke pot. No, that's not true. What advice would I give myself? I feel like there's so much and absolutely nothing because like I would where I am now, I am so delighted with that I wouldn't want to change anything.
Because
I maybe
everything
I
that
maybe I'd tell myself to shave my head. I'd be like, you know what, shave your head now because you're not going to be able to do it professionally later.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. First time I heard that one.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now, you said you don't have your podcast, but imagine if you add your podcast and today you're interviewing the most special person in the world, which is yourself. What was
Mm.
the first question you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. What is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Where do you see yourself in 30 years?
And your answer is,
Hopefully with a lot of horses.
oh yes. Oh
um,
yes.
hopefully, okay, 30 years I feel like is a bit too far because then I'm 60, but I really hope for myself that I would be able to learn music, which I've always been very blocked around music. And like this past year, my partner built me and gave me a guitar for my 30th birthday. And I
Wow.
don't think I've ever cried at a birthday gift, but that I cried my eyes out. Um, so I would hope to see myself sufficient and proficient at music and playing music and writing music. That is what I would love to see for myself.
That would be amazing. Especially, oh yeah, absolutely. Wow. Awesome. Now, the last question I'll ask you, and that's one of my favorite questions is, what is the smallest thing you've done that has had the biggest impact in your life? And by small, I don't mean something small. It can be just one thing. Just to give you an example, for me, it's been starting this podcast because that allowed me to connect with an incredible human being, open so many doors, opportunities that I feel completely blessed. So what would you say was for you the one thing, the smallest thing you've done that has had the biggest impact so far, positively in both your life and business?
To decide to cottywomple.
Absolutely. I will definitely remember that expression and start using it myself. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I did it in an ethics exam in my philosophy class. It was the last exam I ever wrote in university. Instead of answering the questions, I just wrote myself an essay on whether I should drop out of university or not. And I used all the different people that we had studied. I'd used their kind of philosophies to decide on what my life was going to be. Was I going to stay in university and continue wasting my parents' time and money and energy and resources and everything, or was I just going to let go and see where the wind took me? And what I realized in that essay was that if I was going to pursue something that made me happy, the only thing that made me happy at that time was riding my bicycle. And so I said, on that note, I'm going for a bike ride. Peace. See ya. And like mic dropped, walked out of the exam room and never looked back.
How do you think did the professor think of that essay? Did you get a good mark out of that or?
I contacted them a couple of years later or a year later. Not it was like a long enough time afterwards, and they said you got a 0, but it was a fantastic paper.
What? 0? Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
because I didn't answer any of the questions.
Okay. But that's one of those pieces that's going to be life determining, life changing, like opening your eyes. Sometimes we know what to do. We just need either to say it ourselves out loud to someone else, or put it on a piece of paper to see it so it can really take form,
Yeah,
take life, and then say, my God, that's exactly what I need to do. You know?
exactly. Yeah, you will find a way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Listen,
Lorenzo,
Giada,
thank you so much. I really
pleasure is all
appreciate it.
mine. Pleasure is all mine. Love talking to you. We can talk for hours. You're a true leader. Oh, one thing. Forgot to, well, obviously enjoyed talking to you tremendously. If someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
So I recently deleted one website, but I have a website called askgiada.com. And if you go to askgiada.com/learn more, then you can find a place to have a discovery call with me. You can find my social media accounts. You can have a self-care solutions consultation. You can buy the book. You can do all kinds of things. But askgiada.com is just a blog where sometimes I post things.
Lovely. I'll definitely put that in the show notes. So yeah, once again, I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. You have a wonderful mission, beautiful, what you're doing and all that. So keep safe, keep awesome, keep impacting and helping people around the world. And God bless, my friend. Take care until next time.
Thank
Cheers.
you so much, Lorenzo.
Very
Bye.
welcome. Ciao, ciao.